It was a Tuesday night in early June, one of those nights where the air feels heavy before the rain even starts. By 7 p.m., the sky was already dark, swollen with thunderclouds. My parents had left earlier that afternoon to visit my aunt 2 towns over, so I had the whole house to myself for 2 nights. At first, I didn't mind. I was 19, finally old enough that being home alone wasn't a big deal. I ordered a pizza, set up in the living room with Netflix, and wasted hours scrolling through my phone. By 11:30 p.m., the storm was in full swing. Lightning flashed every few seconds, followed by deep, rolling thunder that shook the windows. The kind of storm where the rain comes down so hard it makes the world outside look blurry, like it's melting behind a sheet of water. I was half asleep on the couch when my phone lit up and started buzzing. The screen read, "Unknown caller." I almost ignored it. I usually do, but for some reason, maybe because I was tired or curious, I swiped to answer. "Hello." The voice on the other end was a man's. Low, calm, steady. Not a telemarketer. Not a prank caller. The first thing he said was, "Don't hang up. I see you're wearing a black hoodie tonight." I froze. My heart stopped for a second, because I was wearing my old black hoodie, the one with the torn pocket and faded sleeves. I glanced around the living room. The TV screen glowed faintly, reflecting the storm against the sliding glass doors. Every instinct in me said it had to be a joke, a friend messing with me, someone pulling info from social media. But then I realized I hadn't posted anything that day. No photos, no selfies, no updates. And the way he said it, the tone, it wasn't playful. It was flat, observant, like he was just reporting a fact. I swallowed hard. Who is this? At first, silence, just heavy breathing, long enough that I thought he'd hung up. Then, softly, "You should lock your back door. You always forget, don't you?" My stomach dropped. I sprinted into the kitchen, nearly tripping over the rug. And he was right. The back door was unlocked. I slammed it shut, twisted the deadbolt, and pressed my back against the cold wood, trying to slow my breathing. The voice chuckled in my ear. Not loud, not exaggerated, just a quiet laugh like he was amused. "Good boy, but you're too late." I'm already inside. My blood ran cold. I spun around, scanning the kitchen, the hallway, every corner of the room. Nothing. My chest was heaving, my pulse hammering so hard I thought I'd pass out. I grabbed the biggest knife I could find from the drawer and crept through the house. The living room, the garage, the laundry room, every closet. I even checked behind the shower curtain. Empty. When I finally made it back to the kitchen, the call was still connected. The little timer ticked on the screen. And then the voice whispered, almost too soft to hear, "See you next storm." The line went dead. I don't remember much after that. I just sat in the living room with every light on, clutching the knife, staring at the shadows until sunrise. When my parents came home the next day, I didn't even tell them right away. I was embarrassed, scared they'd think I made it up. But eventually, I called the police. They came, searched the house, checked the locks, walked the perimeter. Nothing. They said prank calls happen all the time, that there was no way to trace it. According to them, no record of the call even existed. For weeks after, I jumped at every sound, every creak of the house, every gust of wind rattling the windows. I stopped wearing that hoodie. I started triple-checking every door and window before bed. It's been years now, but storms still make my skin crawl. Every time thunder rolls in and the rain starts to hammer the roof, I find myself staring at my phone, praying it doesn't ring. Because I know if it does, he's still. Had just moved into an old apartment complex in Portland with a friend. It wasn't in the worst part of town, but the building was showing its age. The locks stuck, the windows rattled in even a mild wind, and the pipes groaned and banged at night like they had something to say. That evening, a storm was rolling in. It started as a drizzle around 8 p.m., but quickly became a downpour. The rain hammered the roof and streaked the windows so hard it sounded like a drum. Lightning split the sky every few seconds, illuminating the creaky apartment in sharp, sudden flashes. My roommate had to work late, so I was home alone. Around 9:30, I went to the bathroom. I closed the door and started my routine when suddenly the lock jammed. I twisted, pushed, yanked, nothing. Panic began to creep in. I tried shoulder bumping it, even leaning my full weight into the door, but it wouldn't budge. I laughed nervously at first. Okay, this is funny. I texted my roommate. Locked myself in the bathroom. Hurry home. 20 minutes passed. My phone battery was dwindling, and my roommate hadn't responded. My laughter had died. The air in the tiny bathroom felt thick, stale, almost suffocating. My pulse was racing. The storm outside made every little sound. The pounding rain, the wind rattling the windows seemed louder, closer. The only way to see outside was a tiny frosted window near the ceiling. I dragged a chair over, climbed on it, and peered through the blur. At first, it was just rain. Then, I saw a shadow, movement, a figure, pressed right up against the glass, too high to be on the ground. In the flashes of lightning, I caught glimpses of a face, stretched, grinning. My stomach dropped. I stumbled backward and fell onto the floor. My shoulder throbbed from the fall. I tried to convince myself it was my imagination, the storm, the shadows, the flickering lights. But then came a sound that made my blood run cold. Knock, knock, knock. 3 deliberate, slow taps against the window. I froze. My throat went dry. The storm was roaring so loud. No one could have heard me scream. I dared not move, barely breath, just stared at the distorted face pressed against the glass, smiling. Minutes passed, or maybe hours. Time lost all meaning. I couldn't bring myself to look again. My heart ached in my chest. My phone's battery was low, the screen dim. I whispered my own name over and over, hoping some kind of sanity would anchor me. Eventually, I heard the storm fade slightly and faint footsteps running across the courtyard outside. The shadow at the window vanished. My muscles unclenched slightly, though I didn't dare breathe too loudly. When my roommate finally arrived around midnight, I threw open the door and bolted into their arms, shaking and crying. We went outside together. Beneath the bathroom window, there was a garbage bin pushed against the wall. Someone had climbed it to reach the window. And on the frosted glass, smears, fingerprints, a handprint that had pressed right against the pane, distorted by rain, a shadow of a face that was all too clear in the fading moonlight. Even now, I can't forget the feeling of being trapped, helpless, watching that face pressed outside, knowing it was waiting, maybe watching every time the lights went out. It was a Friday night, around 10 p.m., and the rain had been coming down for hours. The streets glistened with reflections of streetlights, puddles rippling under every passing car. I lived alone in a small townhouse, and with the storm hammering outside, I decided to order food instead of cooking. I placed an order through a popular food delivery app, paid online, and settled on the couch with my laptop while the rain drummed against the windows. The wind howled through the gaps in the old window frames, making the house creak as if it were alive. About 40 minutes later, my phone buzzed with a notification. Your driver is approaching. A few minutes after that, headlights flashed across the driveway. Then a knock at the door. Through the peephole, I saw a man in a delivery jacket. His hood was pulled up, dripping wet from the storm. He held a paper bag, standing perfectly still, the kind of still that doesn't feel natural. I opened the door cautiously. He smiled, not warmly, but in a way that felt forced, almost mechanical. Enjoy your meal, he said. Something about his tone made my stomach twist. It was flat, rehearsed, unnatural. He didn't blink much, and his gaze stayed locked on me like he was inspecting, not greeting. I muttered a quiet thanks, shut the door quickly, and locked it. My hand shook, carried the bag to the kitchen, and noticed immediately that it felt lighter than expected. I opened it. Inside was food, yes, but not mine. Just a single container of plain rice. No receipt, no branding, no order confirmation. Confused, I pulled up the app. My blood ran cold. Your driver is still 5 minutes away. I froze. Who would I just let into my house? The storm outside masked every sound, but I could almost hear the faint drip of water from the man's soaked jacket as he lingered on my doorstep. Through the peephole, I saw him still standing there, motionless, just staring at my door, holding nothing now. Minutes passed, or maybe longer, the rain pounding on the roof like a drum, the occasional lightning flash illuminating the yard. Then, as if finally satisfied, he turned and walked down the street, disappearing into the darkness. 5 minutes later, the real delivery driver arrived. A young woman this time, apologetic about the delay, handing me the correct order, neatly sealed, proper receipt, everything normal. The next morning, I checked my doorbell camera footage. The first man had arrived on foot, not in a car. He had stood at my door for 18 minutes, holding that bag of rice, just watching, waiting, whatever he was waiting for. His face was partially hidden by the hood, but every movement, the slight tilt of his head, the way he shifted weight, felt deliberate. I called the police. They told me they couldn't trace him. He wasn't associated with the app, no records, no clue who he was. It's been years now. I never order food alone at night during storms. I triple-check who's at my door. I don't open it without looking through every camera angle. I keep a knife within reach, because I know, if he ever comes back, he'll be ready. And this time, I might not be able to run. Rainy nights should feel safe. Locked inside, lights on, warm food waiting. But storms are tricky. They cover footsteps, blur faces, and mask the sounds that should warn you something's wrong. And when you're home alone, sometimes the storm isn't what you should fear. It's the person waiting on the other side of the door,